Welcome to Hong Kong Brief. The content of the briefing includes Alibaba said to weigh sale of mall chain in latest overhaul step. Chinese-owned Amer Sports IPO faces weak U.S. investor appetite. Hong Kong stocks waver as Fed dents March rate cut bets, hurting developers. Export orders lift China's factory activity, confidence hits 9-month high. U.S. accuses Chinese memory chip maker, AI firms of aiding military. Alibaba said to weigh sale of mall chain in latest overhaul step. Bloomberg. Alibaba is reportedly considering selling its in-time department store arm as the company undergoes a restructuring. The Chinese internet firm has approached several firms to gauge interest in acquiring the nationwide chain of more than 100 stores and malls. The move suggests that Alibaba is rethinking its ambition of dominating physical and online retail. It has focused on a broad overhaul of the company, including reshuffling top management, and is increasingly focusing on its core e-commerce business and its cloud operation. Chinese-owned Amer Sports IPO faces weak U.S. investor appetite. Nikkei Asia. Chinese-owned sports equipment and apparel maker Amer Sports, which owns brands including Wilson and Louisville Slugger, has raised $1.3 billion in its initial public offering, IPO, after pricing the shares below its initial range. The IPO values the company at $6.3 billion, making it the largest IPO by a Chinese-owned company since 2021. Amer was founded in Finland in 1950 and was acquired by a Chinese consortium led by Anta Sports in 2019. The company has seen significant growth in China since then, with the region's growth rate at 67.6% for the first 9 months of 2023. Hong Kong stocks waver as Fed dents March rate cut bets, hurting developers. South China Morning Post. Hong Kong stocks remained near a one-week low after the U.S. Federal Reserve left its target rate unchanged and pushed back expectations for a reduction in March. The Hang Seng Index rose less than 0.1% to 15,491.89 at 9:51 a.m. local time. However, the tech index gained 0.8% and Alibaba Group rebounded 1.7%. Meanwhile, Sun Hung Kai Properties slipped 0.6% and Hang Lung Properties dropped 3.3%. The Fed kept its target rate at 5.25% to 5.5% range, unchanged, for a fourth straight policy meeting. U.S. accuses Chinese memory chip maker, AI firms of aiding military. Bloomberg. The Pentagon has added China's leading memory chip maker, Yangtze Memory Technologies, and facial recognition firm Megvii to its list of companies accused of aiding China's military. The list, known as the Section 1260H rundown, already includes major telecom and aerospace players, as well as Huawei and Semiconductor Manufacturing International Corporation. The U.S. government has been increasingly concerned about China's military-civil fusion strategy, which involves civilian companies supporting the People's Liberation Army. The inclusion on the list restricts access to some defense contracts and adds to existing export curbs and sanctions on the companies. Tesla upgrades Model Y self-driving hardware to lift China sales. Bloomberg. Tesla has upgraded the self-driving hardware on its Model Y SUVs in China in an effort to boost sales in the country. The Model Y will now come equipped with Tesla's HW 4.0 autonomous driving function hardware, including upgraded cameras and an onboard computer, at no additional cost. The hardware upgrade provides a longer detection range, stronger perception ability, and better computing power. Tesla is making efforts to retain its dominant position in China's electric vehicle market as domestic manufacturers roll out more EVs. The company has also been cutting prices to remain competitive. Hong Kong court convicts 6 over 2019 legislature storming. Japan Times. 4 Hong Kong men have been convicted of rioting for storming and ransacking the city's legislature in 2019. The incident was part of a pro-democracy movement that posed a significant challenge to the Beijing-backed government. The storming of the legislature was one of the most violent episodes during the protests that occurred that year, leading to the imposition of a national security law by Beijing to suppress dissent. The protesters broke into the legislature on the anniversary of Hong Kong's handover from Britain to China, smashing windows and defacing the building. From dragons to dumplings, everything you can look forward to at BRIS Asia 2024. ABC. The BRIS Asia Festival in Brisbane, Australia, is a celebration of the city's Asian cultures and features a range of events, including Asian street festivals, a dumpling festival, and a Lunar New Year celebration. The festival also includes the first Imagine Asia, a program catered to children and families, and Southside by Night, which showcases Asian car culture. The festival aims to explore and celebrate the diverse roots and heritage of Brisbane's Asian communities. Arc'teryx maker Amer Sports gets $1.3 billion in below-range IPO. Bloomberg. Amer Sports raised $1.3 billion in its U.S. initial public offering, IPO, below its targeted range. The maker of Wilson tennis rackets and Salomon ski boots priced 100 million shares at $13 each, compared to its earlier marketed range of $16 to $18. The IPO is the largest since Birkenstock raised $1.48 billion in September. 3 members of the consortium that acquired Amer Sports in 2019 agreed to buy shares at the offering price. Amer Sports had a net loss of $115.6 million on revenue of $3.05 billion for the 9 months ended September 30, according to its filings. Hong Kong holds base rate steady as Fed votes to keep options open. South China Morning Post. The Hong Kong Monetary Authority, HKMA, has maintained the city's base rate at 5.75%, following the U.S. Federal Reserve's decision to keep its target rate unchanged at between 5.25% and 5.5%. The HKMA has followed the Fed's monetary policy since 1983 to preserve the local currency's peg to the U.S. dollar. The decision to hold rates steady was expected, with 97.9% of traders predicting no change. Global fund exodus from China stocks hits record 6th month. Bloomberg. Foreign investors have continued to sell China's onshore equities in January, marking the 6th consecutive month of selling. Global funds offloaded 14.5 billion Chinese yuan, $2 billion, worth of shares on a net basis last month, bringing the total amount of stock sold since August to 201 billion Chinese yuan. Concerns over China's property market, lack of strong policy support, and worries about derivatives have all contributed to the selling pressure. This has weighed on the onshore benchmark, which was down more than 6% in January. The world's biggest car company has blurred vision. Bloomberg. Toyota Motor Corporation has been crowned the world's largest carmaker for a 4th consecutive year. However, the author of this Bloomberg op-ed says Toyota has no clear vision of how to remain in the top spot. The company has faced a series of scandals, including the recall of almost 1 million vehicles in the U.S. last month, and a suspension of production at Daihatsu Motor after more than 170 irregularities were found in safety tests. The author argues that Toyota needs a transparent plan to deal with cheating on regulatory tests and a clear strategy for new energy vehicles. The one bull market Xi Jinping cares about. Bloomberg. China's President Xi Jinping is looking to develop a vibrant sovereign bond market to tackle the country's municipal debt crisis and compete with the dominance of the US dollar in global trade. Sovereign and quasi-sovereign issues accounted for nearly half of China's interbank bond market as of September. Beijing wants to attract foreign buyers to Chinese government bonds, and the timing may be right as foreign investors are once again buying yuan bonds. However, China still has some way to go to develop a truly global currency and bond market, as liquidity and transparency remain key concerns. Sustainable jet fuel supply crunch endangers airlines' climate targets. Bloomberg. Airlines may struggle to achieve their climate goals due to a shortage of sustainable aviation fuel, SAF, according to Cathay Pacific's Christoph Van Passel. Cathay Pacific aims for 10% of its fuel to be sustainable by 2030, but the supply of SAF is predicted to be 30% to 40% below demand from airlines by the end of the decade. The cost of SAF is also 2 to 3 times higher than conventional jet fuel, making it unaffordable for many airlines. Canceling checks requires clear roadmap. SCMP opinion. The Hong Kong Association of Banks, HKAB, is working on a roadmap to phase out the use of checks in the country. While some customers and institutions still use checks regularly, the popularity of secure and accessible money transfer technologies such as PayMe, Faster Payment System, FPS, Alipay, and WeChat Pay has made checks increasingly obsolete. The use of checks has already decreased by 34% since the introduction of FPS in 2018, while FPS transaction volumes have increased by 12-fold. The trend towards digital transactions has been accelerated by the COVID-19 pandemic, and many countries are moving towards eliminating checks in favor of digital payment methods. The HKAB will consult with its members and develop a transition roadmap to ensure a smooth shift to e-payments without causing disruption or inconvenience to users. Ladies and gentlemen, Sixers and Sixettes, I am Dr. Six, your trusted observer from the 6 Degrees world, bringing you the latest updates from around the globe. Today, we have a wide range of news stories, from business and finance to technology and culture. So, let's dive right in. First up, e-commerce giant Alibaba is reportedly considering selling its department store arm, in time, as part of a broader restructuring. This move suggests that Alibaba is re-evaluating its strategy in the physical and online retail space. Meanwhile, Chinese-owned sports equipment maker Amer Sports has raised $1.3 billion in its IPO, but faces weak investor appetite in the US. In the financial markets, Hong Kong stocks remained near a one-week low after the U.S. Federal Reserve dashed hopes of a rate cut in March. On the economic front, China's factory activity expanded in January, driven by stable growth in output and an increase in new export orders. In geopolitical news, the U.S. has accused Chinese memory chip maker Yangtze Memory Technologies and facial recognition firm Megvii of aiding China's military. This adds to the list of companies restricted from defense contracts and subject to export curbs and sanctions. On the automotive front, Tesla has upgraded the self-driving hardware on its Model Y SUVs in China to boost sales in the country. And in legal news, 4 Hong Kong men have been convicted of rioting for storming the city's legislature in 2019, part of a pro-democracy movement that challenged the Beijing-backed government. Shifting gears to lighter news, the BRIS Asia Festival in Brisbane, Australia, is celebrating the city's Asian cultures with a range of events, from street festivals to dumpling festivals. It's an exciting opportunity to explore and celebrate the diverse roots and heritage of Brisbane's Asian communities. On the financial front, Amer Sports' IPO may not have hit its target, but the company still raised $1.3 billion. And speaking of finance, the Hong Kong Monetary Authority has maintained the city's base rate, following the U.S. Federal Reserve's decision to keep its target rate unchanged. Moving on to the markets, foreign investors have continued to sell China's onshore equities for the 6th consecutive month in January. Concerns over the property market, lack of policy support, and worries about derivatives have contributed to the selling pressure. In the automotive world, Toyota has been crowned the world's largest carmaker for a 4th consecutive year. However, the company faces challenges in maintaining its position due to a series of scandals and a lack of clear vision for the future. Shifting gears to the world of finance, China's President Xi Jinping aims to develop a vibrant sovereign bond market to tackle the country's municipal debt crisis and compete with the dominance of the US dollar. However, China still has some way to go in developing a truly global currency and bond market. On the environmental front, a shortage of sustainable aviation fuel may hinder airlines' efforts to achieve their climate goals. The supply of sustainable aviation fuel is predicted to fall short of demand, and its high cost makes it unaffordable for many airlines. And finally, the Hong Kong Association of Banks is working on a roadmap to phase out the use of checks in the country. The popularity of digital payment methods has made checks increasingly obsolete, and the COVID-19 pandemic has accelerated the trend towards digital transactions. The HKAB aims to ensure a smooth transition to e-payments without causing disruption or inconvenience to users. Well, that wraps up today's news. Remember, folks, it's always important to stay informed and keep up with the ever-changing world we live in. So, what are your thoughts on these stories? Do you have any questions or opinions? I'm all ears. Let's keep the conversation going. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.